When I was in elementary school, I always wanted to sit with the cool kids, but they always said that the seat was taken. Until one day, when a cool kid invited me to sit with the other cool kids. And now, 40 some years later, I realize that's exactly how Sigma feels, sitting with Canon. They're cool now.
You're a monster!
Hi, I'm Jared Hoyman, and welcome back to the channel where we talk about nerdy things like cameras and computers. And hey, we're going to be talking about the Avata 2 in a different video and how I have crashed it a few times. I'm a noob. But today we're going to be talking about the Sigma and the new lenses that are going to be coming out this year. One lens that's going to be coming out mid-summer. It's going to be awesome. And the others are going to come in third and fourth quarter. But still, the end is in sight. But unfortunately, it is just for the Canon RFS lenses. Is it unfortunate, or is it just kind of a prelude of what the future will hold with Sigma and their relationship, bonding, forging with Canon? Now, to make this a little real for all of you, I'm actually filming myself on the Canon R7 with the 15-35 2.8. And because this is going to be a focal length offered by Sigma by the end of the year, I have to look up at my monitor. I don't memorize these things. I'm at 23 millimeters, 2.8. That is the widest I can at the 15-35 2.8 RF L series lens. That is a mouthful. What is Sigma going to say? Are they going to have this weird long name? Maybe. Maybe they'll just be cool and just make it simple, just Sigma. But for us, we've got the 15-35 2.8 at 23 millimeters. This is going to be an amazing focal length on a Canon R7 crop sensor. 23 millimeters on a crop sensor Canon, which is multiplied by 1.6, is about 36.8, give or take something. It's out there. It's math. It's pretty good focal length. If you shoot 35 millimeter on a full frame, 35 millimeter, you get a nice look. But the cool thing about the Sigma is it's going to be a 1.4 aperture. More light in, more blurred out background. It's going to look a little bit more cinematic, maybe. I don't know. Picture this framing at 1.4. This is 2.8. This will be blurred out. My ears, my nose, my baldness, just my eyes will be in focus. That will be about it. But it'll be nice. You'll have an idea of what's in the background, but even less will be blurred out. And you'll have the option to stopping down to f1.8 or 2 or 2.2 or 2.4 or 2.8. I just had to go up every single little increment to show you that there's a lot in between 2.8 and 1.4. That's going to be an awesome focal length. But you know what? That's not the only lens out there. Now, I wanted to start out talking about the 23 millimeter because for me personally, I love it. I love the framing it has right now. Everything seems to be just framed up well. There is going to be a 16 millimeter, and that's quite drastic from the 23 millimeter. And I'm going to show you what 16 2.8 looks like. Holy cow, you can see my dad body now. It's fully there for you to see. There's no hiding. I mean, is everything out of frame? I don't know. But you can actually see more of my little table boom pole for the microphone. And it brings in a lot more, data in the background. And so if I wanted to show something off, that's good. I do like the 16 millimeter focal length, a 1.4. It would get more of that cinematic look. And the thing about 16 is it is a little over 25 millimeters, equivalent to a full frame. So that's pretty good. So in photography and in this case video, that 25 millimeter look, which is the 16 millimeter 1.4, would be good. And again, this is at 2.8, the widest the 15-35 allows you to be. So 1.4, more blurred out. Less ISO you need to use. You can have some awesome shots Now, there is a 30 millimeter 1.4, and I'm not sure if that's going to be the focal length I would be interested in. It would be equivalent to more like a 50 millimeter on a full frame. But let me show you what a 30 millimeter would look like in framing. It's like I have to duck a little bit, but yeah, my head is cut off. This is what 30 millimeter looks like on the Canon R7. That is a 1.6 crop. It looks good, but imagine this. This again is 2.8, 1.4. Holy macro. These books back here that I can still touch and reach would be blurred out completely. The flag would be blurred out very much. I'm curious of what that bokeh is going to look like. Or I'm sorry, bokeh. It should look pretty good. And so 1.4 blown out, not bad. Now again, we are back to that 23 millimeter focal length. And again, it's 2.8, not 1.4. But if I do get the 23 millimeter in just a few months, that 1.4 would look pretty good. Now, the other prime that I can't simulate with this 15 to 35 is the 56 millimeter. The 56 millimeter 1.6 crop times on a Canon R7 body would bring that to about 89 millimeters. Wow, 1.4, 89 millimeter equivalent on a full frame. That is an amazing portrait image. Now, I'm not a portrait photographer, so am I going to get the 56 millimeter 1.4? No, I'm just going to wait for Sigma to give it to me. Just kidding. They've never given me anything yet, but there's a first for everything. Now, those are the prime lenses, but there's two zoom lenses that are quite amazing. They're at 2.8 constant aperture, so they don't fluctuate. And let's start out with the one that actually would benefit all of you real estate photographers out there like myself on a Canon R7 body. Now that is the 10 to 18 millimeter 2.8 constant aperture. That Sigma lens should be pretty awesome. Now right here, I have the 10 to 18 RFS Canon version of that lens. This is a 4.5 to, I could be wrong, but a 6.3, I think, aperture. So it's variable aperture. The reason why the 2.8, besides being very wide, is great is while you're zooming, you can maintain that aperture. The 2.8 would also be amazing for indoor video as well. And the lightness of these lenses on an RFS body are going to be awesome on a gimbal doing video walkthroughs. I think this 10 to 18 millimeter is going to be huge for anybody that is on the RFS mount, because now you have this light, constant aperture that is going to be an amazing image and works well with real estate photography. I've been wanting to recommend some good APS-C lenses out there for people that want to get into real estate photography like myself. And I think the Sigma is actually going to be a really good option. The 2.8 constant aperture, the lightness on a gimbal, that you can use this for video and use it for photography is going to be pretty good. And just so you know, the 10 to 18 is about a 16 to 28 millimeter full frame equivalent. So if you're used to full frame cameras, that is the equivalent of the focal length you're getting. Now, the last zoom lens that Sigma is offering for the Canon RFS mount is the 18 to 50 millimeter 2.8 constant aperture, which I think is going to be a huge game changer when it comes to the RFS mount because of what you can do with it compared to what you can actually do on a full frame right now. I say this because the equivalent on a full frame for this 18 to 50 is a 28 millimeter to just about a 90 millimeter. Now you're losing that 4 millimeter on that 24 to 70 on a full frame. You're losing that 4 millimeter. But for a lot of people, they don't mind it. And you're gaining a lot more compression, getting up close to 90 millimeters, equivalent of a full frame. So that 50 will get you close to 90. And that 2.8 aperture will still get some good blurred out background if you're doing some portraiture or subject photography, and especially with video as well. Now, full frame cameras mean full frame lenses, which means full frame prices. Those are expensive. APS-C, smaller, less glass, less expensive, and the quality is still really good. It just needs to cover the APS-C sensor and yet you are doing well with the image quality coming out of it. Now, I do hope to get my hands on the 10 to 18 when it gets released, because I would love to review that for you in real estate photography and architectural photography, and also video walkthroughs. And I probably will pick up the 23 millimeter 1.4. I'm leaning towards that one, and maybe another prime as well. But these prices aren't specific yet, but I'm guessing under $1,000 is probably where they're going to be for the primes. But what do you think? Are you disappointed that we didn't get an RF full frame lens from Sigma yet? I think that's in the future. But for now, the RFS mount, especially since I do shoot on the R7, will be good for my video. But for me, putting these on the R7 will be great, especially since I shoot a lot of my videos like this on the R7. And the R7 is also a backup video camera for video walkthroughs. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button. And if you want to see more content like this, hit that subscribe, especially if you want to watch me crash my Avata 2. That video is coming up in the very near future, like this week. I'll be releasing that this week still. It's first impressions of a guy flying an FPV, never flying an FPV before. It is quite the experience, and I can't wait to share that with you. So don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Oh, and if you missed any of these videos over here, don't forget to watch them. They're kick-ass.